Welcome to EdUp Curriculum. I am your host, Nicole Poff, and today we are going to talk about one of my most favorite things ever. We are joined by Lindsay Adolphs. Lindsay, can you introduce yourself? Anything you want to share with us about who you are, what you do, how you got here? Just kind of give us lay of the land in terms of who you are.
Absolutely. So my technical title is Assistant Vice President of Core and Community Engaged Learning at Augustana College. So I oversee Core, which is our set of offices that really focuses on career development and then hands-on learning. So everything from our Career Development Center to our Study Away office to our Entrepreneurial Center, and then all things in between. I have a great team. So the bulk of my time isn't spent managing the offices, it's spent on my community engagement side of life. So out in our Quad City community, our Midwest community, with the goal of national community to develop partnerships that we can expand on our experiential learning for our students here on campus, whether that's internships, project-based learning, any kinds of hands-on learning that we can have for our students here on campus. So I'm out and about. I've been in the field for about 15 years, stumbled into it just by having experiences of my own and realizing I wasn't helped, but I want to help people in student affairs, and was lucky enough to fall into career services and have been in it my whole entire career, everywhere from just an internship coordinator to director of career services at small private institutions, as well as a for-profit institution for a little bit of time and a Big Ten research institution. So a little bit of everything. And I've really enjoyed the aspect of my job that's been those community partnerships. So in every aspect of every role I've had time to go out, build partnerships in our community, and find different and new and exciting opportunities for whatever campus I'm on. And that's been the best part of my job. And so being able to be in this role and do that for the bulk of my time is really exciting.
It's awesome. And when we first chatted, I loved how much is kind of bundled under your department. I feel like when I was in career services, there'd be career services over here and external relations over here and alumni over here. And it just felt like we should all we should all be a family. Like we should all
Yeah.
be doing the same work. We're doing very similar work. Why are we
Yeah.
all separated? Um, so good on you guys for combining it all.
It's really exciting. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to be in this role was that cohesiveness that core brings. So I've had the same experiences of you in the past where it's been the career center and we partner, but we're not intentionally connected to other offices that are doing that hands-on learning, that experiential piece. And so core allows for that intentional partnership. And that was really appealing for me in this role.
Absolutely. Now, my next question, I think you might have already answered, but it was just going to be what excites you the most about the work you're doing. But I think you may have answered that already.
I can expand on it if you want to.
Yes, please
Uh,
do.
so one of the things that Augustana launched right before I started was our strategic plan. And it's our bold and boundless strategic plan, but so much of it is about community partnerships and how can we not only raise up our Augustana students by developing new engaged learning experiences, but also our Quad City community. And that really excites me about the work that I do, that it's truly just not just focused on our institution, but really how can we lift up those around us, the community that supports Augustana, and make it much more of a partnership than just one-sided. And so it's been really exciting to have those conversations with our community partners, not only of do you have an internship, but how can we help you and how can we create experiences that are going to elevate what you do in Rock Island and in the community, and kind of have that relationship both ways is exciting.
And that's so important. On LinkedIn, I post a lot about how like employers just still aren't satisfied. They still feel like colleges are missing the mark. So, what a chance to really change that narrative in your area by getting the exact needs of the employers and kind of working it backwards, right? Like how are we partners in this space versus us just acting in silos over here, producing the graduates we think you need. You guys are partnering up to make sure that you're doing it correctly, which I love. and I think others should do. Now, what our listeners don't know is that the way I found you was on LinkedIn, and you had posted pictures of your students. They were basically on the job. They were doing what you guys call job shadows. So let's talk about this. This is what really caught my attention and was like, I want Lindsay on the podcast talking about this. Can you walk us through what this initiative was and how it worked?
Absolutely. So we have 2 semesters, but then also a J term semester. So our students come back really early in January, and they're taking one class that's concentrated on one thing. And so they have a good chunk of the day that they're together to be able to have a much more flexible class period. And we had worked in the past, prior to my onboarding and prior to COVID, I believe, a faculty member had done an event where they had employers in the community that came on campus, and then they did a short job shadow in the afternoon. And she approached us this year on how could she kind of replicate that, but possibly expand it a little bit more to make it that much more engaging. And so about a month before J term started, she approached us and asked, is this something you could help me with? And I said, absolutely. We have a phenomenal career coach who works specifically with students in communication and business. And this was a communication in business course. And so that career coach worked really closely with the students in terms of how you can prepare, what are you looking for? And the faculty member provided us information on what the students were interested in, what they wanted to major in, which then allowed me to find intentional community partners that we could match them up with so that they could have a job shadow experience that showcased communication in the workplace, but around the subject matter that they're really interested in. And we really wanted to make sure that our partners were excited about the idea so that we could also showcase all of the great opportunities that are in the Quad Cities, to kind of use it as that two-prong of, yes, you're going to be able to go out and meet with an employer and learn about a job, but also learn about what's happening in the Quad Cities and why it's not a place you need to leave, but you can stay. And so it was a really great collaboration, that it wasn't one-sided and that the faculty did a lot of work and we just did a little bit, or vice versa. We all had our own piece of what we were responsible for and came together to create what I felt like was a really engaging event for our students that spanned a whole day.
Absolutely. And I love the approach you guys take, because I think that in career services or higher ed, sometimes we approach it differently. We'll either say, here's this one employer and they're going to open up 10 job shadows, right? And it's just 10 students at that employer. Or we say, we found all these employers. Where do you want to plug in, right? And
Yes.
so those employers and the spots have been identified first. You guys did it radically different. You went based off of the student interests. What do you want to do? What are you interested in? And then after you had that, is that when you went and sought out the employers?
Yes, so we've done it in the past in different roles that I've been in, very similar to how you described it initially. We have these 5 employers that really are open to it and just kind of placed it in according to that. But it was a bit of that backwards approach, that we had the list of the students prior to doing any kind of outreach, and then targeted in on what they were looking for and what employers that we've had great experiences with, but also we know that they're doing that kind of work, and paired them that way. That I think really helped to impact their experience as a whole. I think it felt a lot more personalized than just I'm doing this for class and it was good, but I'm over it. And this seemed to have a bigger impact than that.
I love it. I think about when I was an undergrad, how many internships I had to do. And it was either like, A, go find it yourself, or B, here's some options for you. And that was basically the two options I had, was either take this list and apply it, or go find it on your own. And this is just an approach that I haven't heard a lot of schools doing. Um, I'm going to ask you a rogue question that I didn't prepare you for.
Okay.
A lot of schools think about scalability. And so I think that's why the approach often happens where here's a list of our partners, pick one and
Yes.
go. In terms of the extra work, right? You had this list of student interests. you went out and found employers. How much extra work was that for you?
I don't feel like it was a ton of extra work. I think initially that reaction was there with the team of, oh my gosh, this is going to be so much extra calling and emailing and things like that. But we have a phenomenal alumni base at Augustana that really worked with us and made this very easy. We partner quite frequently with our alumni and advancement team, and that was our go-to initially of what alumni are in the area that we know that work really well, that not only might take a job shadow, but then they helped us with a lot of additional connections that made our work not that easy. That I firmly believe if we wanted to scale it, that we have a base now that have done this that we can pull from and build on, that it wouldn't be a great deal of extra work.
I love that. That alumni network is clutch.
Yes.
I've
And they
seen,
want to give back so
yeah,
bad, but don't maybe have the funds to give back, or they want to do more than just give back monetarily. And so this gave them a really engaging way to connect with our students. And it was really cool to see.
totally. And what a, I mean, also a good testament to your school, too. You know, sometimes schools struggle with the alumni engagement piece, right? Especially if they've done school online. How do you keep them interested? Or maybe students didn't have a good experience. Um, so I always say that, you know, a strong alumni connection is really a reflection of the good work that a school is doing, right? That the fact that students finished and they still want to be part of it versus I'm done,
Yes.
forget you guys.
Exactly. It's phenomenal to see. It's one of the things that when I started here a few months, 10 months ago or so, uh, just blew me away. The amount of response we have from alumni and the true engagement that they want to have with our students is very exciting and makes my job that much easier.
Totally. Now, so you partnered with students, you partnered with alumni. There's another piece here that you partnered with, or you partnered with employers. You also partnered with faculty. And those in career services, I talked to a lot of them and they're like, partnering with faculty isn't always the easiest. How did you approach the faculty collaboration? What strategies did you use to try to get them on board?
My main goal anytime I'm working with faculty, and especially through this process, is how can I make this as easy as possible for them and make sure that I am clear in what they're looking for, and then I can take it and do the heavy lift that might be holding them back from doing an event similar. And so when the faculty member approached us for this, that was my main goal. I wanted to make sure that she felt like we were here to support her through the whole process. And she was very upfront and very clear. Anytime we had questions, what she was looking for, she gave us that. So making sure that we have that clear vision of what she wanted it to be. And then that allowed me to go and find these partners that were able to support what she was looking for. But really trying to remove that feeling that this is going to be extra work for them. This is going to be a lot to coordinate. If we can make it feel easier on their end, that's what I'm hoping to do.
I think that's a great approach because sometimes they can feel like it's just going to add work to their plate. Um, so that's a great way to help lighten the load for them.
Yes. And she was phenomenal in that she partnered with us and wanted to bring in our career coach to talk to her students and wanted to make sure her students were putting their best foot forward. So she did a lot inside the classroom as well that made our job easier in terms of we knew the students were going to be a great face for Augustana when they were in the community because she did that inside the classroom as well.
That's a dream faculty.
Yes, she's phenomenal.
That's a dream. We don't always get that, but when we get that, we love those faculty. We hold on to those faculty. We
Yes.
cherish them dearly. Um, so kind of bringing this to the next stage is as I was preparing these questions, I went back to your Facebook post, not Facebook, LinkedIn post, and I was reading all the comments. And what stood out to me was people really loved this. I
Yes.
saw some employers commenting. I saw others commenting saying like, "Man, I would love to do this, but you know, how do you do this?" So let's kind of talk about some feedbacks and some strategies here. So let's start with the employers. Um, what kinds of feedback did you get from the employers who participated in this?
We had glowing feedback from our employer partners. They appreciated the chance to showcase what they do, but we also gave them flexibility to make it unique to their organization. So we didn't have a really prescribed schedule of what they had to do. They had to come to lunch with us. They had to host a student for 2 hours and provide a space for the student to ask them questions. But other than that, they could make those 2 hours whatever they wanted. And that seemed to be really exciting for them. And it made it feel more unique to what they were doing and gave them the ability to showcase what they do and how they do it in their own way. And they seem to really appreciate that. And we had great feedback as well in terms of how prepared the students were. So credit goes to my career coach and the faculty member, and that they all asked, can we do it again? We'd love to help you again and participate any way we can. And so we've had some really great feedback so far.
That's awesome. That preparation is critical. I remember sending students out and just being like, oh, deep breaths, deep
Yeah.
breaths. How are they, how are they going to do? How are they going to
Yes.
represent us? What's going to happen here? And so kudos to your team because, yeah, that preparation goes a long way.
It does. You never know. When you are getting ready for the event to start and send them off, it's always that feeling of, oh my gosh, I hope they're ready. I hope they're excited. And we have heard great things from our employer partners that they were. So we could breathe easy and now know that this kind of model works to hopefully help encourage if there are more faculty that want to partner, that if you do incorporate this preparation piece and infuse it before they go out, it'll be even more of a great experience.
Absolutely. Now, when we talked before, you had not yet circled back with your students. They were going to do some
Yeah.
presentations on this. So I'm so curious. How did your students, what was their feedback? How was their experience?
It was wonderful. All of them, I was able to sit in and listen to them all present, and they had to give just a short 5-minute presentation about where they went, what they gained, what they learned, what they were nervous about, kind of just their overall experience. And all of them said that it was a great experience. There were some that decided throughout that process that this is what I think I want to do. And there were some that realized this maybe isn't what I want to do, but they were all able to take away something meaningful from the experience, which is what you want. I mean, working in career services, we tell people all the time, go experience it, do a job shadow. You might realize you hate it. You might realize you love it. You might realize I need to try something else. And they all were able to do that and really enjoyed being able to meet different people in the community. And some were offered internships from the experience. Others were just, hopefully will have more of a mentor throughout their time here. But overall, it was positive from the students as well, which was really, you never know. And students are extremely honest. And so I was ready and sat to hear maybe it didn't go well, but all of them had a positive experience overall.
That's amazing because even the students who felt like, okay, maybe this isn't for me, there
Yeah.
is still so much
Yes.
value in knowing that before you get to graduation, that there's time to pivot maybe a little bit and explore
Yes.
something else. So for those who express like maybe this isn't for me, what from your lens, school, how do you guys plan to now continue to support those students who are like, I did this, wasn't great. So what do we do next for those
Yeah.
students?
We really encourage them to come and talk with a career coach and really learn more about who they are, why didn't they like it, what other steps that they can take. But then we've also really encouraged them to reach back out to the community partner that they shadowed with, to talk with them more about other experiences within their organization based on what they learned from working with their career coach. They have a connection in the community to explore other things that might be of interest. So we're hoping to also help them continue that relationship even without having to fall right into the job that they job shadowed. So we're hopeful that that will help them feel more confident in building those relationships while also finding out who they are.
Yeah. This is amazing. for, typically when someone's like, I didn't like I don't I'm not getting my words out here correctly. Some if Sometimes if students are like, "Oh, that wasn't a great experience," you're like, we missed." But we know in career services that this was still very valuable, even if they learned that it's not something they want to do and they thought they
Yes.
wanted to do. And not to say like failure, right? But to be disappointed or to do that kind of within the safety of like a sandbox.
Right.
um, that's really valuable. That's a really valuable experience.
We had the employers come to lunch before they went out and did the job shadow. So they came to campus and ate with the students. And so they had a whole hour together, kind of in a more relaxed setting, not focused on a job, with the hopes that that would help them focus more on the relationship piece versus just that job and do I want it? Do I like it? I don't know. And I think that that really helped them feel more confident in going into those next steps. That one of the students in their presentation said he was really nervous about being perfect and polished and making sure that he asked all of the right questions during lunch, and was just really nervous about that. But the biggest takeaway he had was that it didn't matter if the conversation was perfect or if the experience was perfect. It mattered that it was genuine and that he was able to make a genuine connection. And that was the biggest thing he took away. And I was like, that's exactly what we want you to say. Like, that's what we want them to learn. And I was really excited about this experience as a whole, that it seemed to be a lot more holistic than just the nuts and bolts of what a job could be.
Absolutely. And remind me, was this experience, was it required like 4 points, or was it totally optional in this course?
It was required as part of the class.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. And they all participated and
They
all
did.
walked
They
away.
all showed up. They all were dressed. We checked them into lunch and they were professionally ready and all came and were excited, and it was great to see.
That's so cool. Now that you've run this program once, what are your biggest takeaways? Anything you'd tweak or do differently next time?
Overall, I it's something that even in my past experiences, the specific matching we hadn't really explored because of that just feeling of that'll be too much. And a big takeaway for our team was it's not that much of a heavy lift if we lean on our network and the phenomenal alumni that we have. And rather than make it broader, is there a way next time to make it even more specific? So the students had a questionnaire they filled out, but it was really just general in terms of what you're looking for. But can we make it even more specific and unique to the student or the class, and make it that much more impactful? And now that we've got what I feel like is a pretty good structure and some bones, that how can we then scale it up and convince other faculty during J term or during our regular term? Is there ways that we could shift and adjust it to offer it to even more students and faculty and community partners?
I love that. And again, I'm going to go back to alumni because I think that they seem to be the piece that really maybe surprisingly clicked here. A lot of times I think when schools are thinking about how they could do this, they're thinking about that employer partner role, right? Where it's just that one person or two or five reaching out to organizations kind of one to one. But flipping it on its head and really bringing alumni in. How did you guys get the word out to alumni? I mean, was it you calling one by one because you knew where they worked? Did you send a mass email?
It was a lot of one on one outreach, and credit goes to our advancement team, our alumni team, and the staff that's here just staying connected with students that graduate. That it wasn't something where we had to search and it took a long time. It was, we think somebody at this company might be a good fit. Who do we know? And within 2 or 3 emails, we knew we had a connection to at least get us started. And so it's really helpful in terms of that outreach piece, that it didn't feel like it was a mass email. It didn't feel like we were scouring all over a company website trying to find our alumni, but it was much more, I'm blanking on the proper word, but it was very easy. It was smooth and did not take a ton of extra work.
That's amazing. That's amazing. If another school wanted to implement this, right? So they're listening and they're like, this sounds really cool. I think we might be able to do something. What advice would you give them? What are some of the things that you consider like these would be critical steps you should take? And then is there anything that you think maybe avoid?
One of the most critical things that I believe helped us in making sure that it didn't take us forever to find partnerships or places for our students to go was having that clear vision from our faculty partner. So this wasn't a vision that I had or that my team had. It really was a vision that our faculty partner had. And we understood what she was looking for and were able to articulate that from the get go to our community partners. And I think that really helped us to find matches a lot smoother and then kind of make sure expectations were managed throughout the process. And so as we were gearing up towards the start of the term, students are dropping and adding and there's new students and we had to shift around who was where. And so we didn't have like a full set of who was going where until about a week out, but our employer partners knew that and were open to that. So that pressure that you can sometimes feel in those kind of events was not there quite as much. And one of the spaces that we definitely could improve on, that if someone wanted to do it, if they can figure this out, I would love them to call me as well. But transportation is a hurdle. We know that that's a hurdle for our faculty partners to think about doing something like this because it sounds wonderful. They see the impact and the value, but getting students off campus and to those sites is difficult. And so we were able to work through that, but if we wanted to scale it up, the way that we did it probably isn't, we couldn't do that for all of campus. And so we're currently right now working on transportation policy and different ways that we'd be able to provide transportation for things like this. But if somebody was looking to do an event like this, that's the biggest piece that I think can be a roadblock of some students can get there, some students can't. We are in a space on our campus where it can feel really insulated, and we have a large international student population that don't necessarily have cars or can't get off campus. And so we were able to make it work, but that's a piece that I think if someone wanted to do it, make sure that that's one of the first things you're trying to navigate.
I hadn't even considered that. I've been in the online space for so long that I hadn't even considered transportation as a
Right.
barrier.
It is. We're going to find a way to overcome that barrier. I'm confident of it. And I think that there's creative ways that we're looking at, but it's can be such a roadblock. I know if a faculty member is thinking, I have this great idea, but how am I going to get 20 students to 10 different places safely and following procedure and at what cost? So those are the kind of things that if we can come together earlier this round, I think we'll be able to navigate it much easier.
That's interesting. That's interesting. And I think you like this experience, there was a lot of there was a wide range of interest, right? It wasn't like this is a business marketing class. Therefore, all of these people should be shadowing a marketing. So as I'm kind of thinking through this, I'm like, it might be even easier if it was a business marketing class and it was three employers you know, taking some students to their social media team, to their PR team, to their content team, right? Like that might be an easier barrier is content
Right.
specific, like field trips.
Yes, I 100% agree. I think if it's a class that's major specific and they're all kind of on that same track, it would make that matching and that pairing that much smoother. That if someone was looking to start smaller, like start there. And even as a junior or a sophomore, job shadows are still impactful for students, and those relationships can do amazing things. So I think that if it's overwhelming to think about getting a student, we had a biology student and then we had a marketing student and then we had a student interested in psychology. So if that feels overwhelming, starting with those major specific class partnerships could be a place to go. And then once you've got it down, expand it out.
I think that's a great idea. Now, what about what about if students wanted, so let's say students weren't in this class and they had friends who were in this class. Um, what would it look like if a student came to your department and said, like, I want to do a job shadow? This was cool. I had a friend. Is that something that's an option? I mean, is there a way that this expands to all students, not just a particular set of, aside from the transportation issue?
That's a great question. When we were planning it, didn't think that we would have that interest. I thought this will be for the class. We'll see. If faculty come, great, but we didn't really think about a pocket of students who might want to do it. And I've had a couple students reach out to me on LinkedIn from that same post that said, well, I'd go to Augustana. I would like to do this. And so we are looking at how we can make an adoption for them. We're a small private liberal arts institution, so I have a lot of flexibility in being able to find connections, alumni, that I think it's definitely something that we could offer to students who are interested. And then depending on how that interest goes, is it an event we do, or is it more of a, you can meet with a career coach and you're talking about it, you're talking about informational interviews, and then they tap my shoulder and say, can you help us find somebody, and kind of craft an experience that way. So we're hopeful that it'll be feel like more of an option for anyone.
Totally. It's cool that, one idea, I don't want to say a little idea, but just one idea,
Yeah.
kind of what it has sparked is, students on LinkedIn reaching out, like hopefully faculty too, or like, hey, I want to do this in my class. What do you think, what's next for this, one time, is it going to become recurring? Is it going to be expanded? What do you think is next for it?
As long as there's a J term at Augustana, this faculty member hopes to continue to do this for her students. So we're hopeful and planning on that this will at least happen once a year for this class. We just recently hired a new director for our Center for Teaching and Learning, who I'm hopeful that I'll be able to partner with, that she'll have a really inside view into what our faculty are looking for and what they're doing, that her and I could partner to either use this type of event to support them or craft something with this as a foundation. So I'm hopeful that it will grow. And I know we had community partners who reached out that said, we'll help next time. So we have a good bench of people who are open to helping, that I'm looking forward to seeing what next year could bring.
It's awesome. Yeah, having employers who are interested, but then also having that kind of seedal relationship where you can say, "Hey, let's bring in some more faculty." And it doesn't always have to look this way, right? It can look many different ways. It can be an employer making videos, right? Like there's so
Right.
many ways we can get employers in the classroom or students in the employment space. I think the hardest part is always that faculty engagement. It's how do we get faculty interested in seeing this as a valuable experience? So I think that relationship with your new director is going to be key.
Yes. And we've had a really great just faculty relationships in general. When you start in a new role, you never know. New campus, new people. And I've had nothing but a warm welcome from the faculty here. So I'm hoping to have with this as a real life example of how we can help make your work easier while also advancing what you're hoping to do in the classroom. I'm excited that there will be more opportunities and more that will tap us and say, we want to do something, and then adapt it to whatever they're looking for.
Yeah, I'm hopeful for you guys too. Good faculty is everything.
Yes.
Um, well, thank you so much for chatting with me. I think this is really cool. I'm excited for you guys. I'm excited for your students, your employers. I think you guys are really on to, and I know because we live in, debt career services, this seems like it's a no brainer, but this idea of partnering with employers, really making sure that we're preparing students both ways, right? That we're preparing them for the correct job field, but we're preparing them for what their employers need. This is literally going to be the way that schools need to move. Um, and you are leading the charge in a really great way. So thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. And it's really helpful that we have leadership here on campus that believe in what we're doing and believe in community partnerships and hands on learning to maximize our students' potential and our community's potential, so much so that it's really the core of our strategic plan that makes our work that much easier. And it's a really exciting time to be doing this kind of work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, thank you. Thank you so much. I really
Thank you.
appreciate it.